The lesson.
Oh yeah.
You mentioned that you're into Australian crime stories and read the books, and I guess that brings my thoughts to your single Animal Kingdom. Tell us a little bit about, I guess, first of all, the album, the LP, and then that particular single. Like, is it your, I guess, interests for those sorts of books that influenced that particular track?
Yeah, so the album first. So the album itself obviously was something in the making for a long time. You know, I started an album, as we spoke of, you know, a long time before, in the late 90s, which was a makeup of raps over the course of the 90s, from sort of 92 to 97, 98. So it was well overdue. Once we wrapped up the Strut stuff, I had a bit of time off. I needed some time just to get out of the studio for a period. And people were sort of screaming out for Bob's album next and my album and this, but I had to step away from it for a little bit and earn some money. And then basically started to get hungry again. That's one of the funny things that I feel like, you know, because I dabble in all the elements, or some of the elements I could say I dabble in, some I probably fuck up, and some I feel like I can do quite well. I feel like out of all the elements, to be an MC, you've got to be hungry. You've got to be super duper hungry. So you can be, you know, you can be penning shit all year round or whatever, but when it comes time to jump on a mic, whether it's in a cypher, on radio, in the studio, either way, you got to want to do it then and there. You know what I mean? So after sort of the few years in the lead up and all the facets of shit that I was taking care of, from the label, the production, the LC raps, working with Strut heavily on 2 big projects, you know, you just sort of get a bit burnt out. And as far as being an MC, I'd probably just pulled away from it a little bit, kind of by choice, and kind of because I was having a bit more fun with the rest, and I didn't have to be as hungry. I could rest on that side a little bit. And I guess, you know, that fire starts to burn a little bit more again after a while. And that's kind of what ended up, you know, pulling me back into pulling out the raps that I'd already started for the album and adding to them, and looking at what production I already had in its skeleton stages and building on that, and reaching out to other producers, etc., and really starting to formulate the album as a whole. So I think, well, we dropped Amiga Man in 2010, which was, the album was pretty well done by then. For some reason, I fucked around for another year before I put it out. Ultimately, it was a case of, you know, just steadily building it up over a couple of years kind of thing. I had to get a decent setup again. I've moved so many times. My studio does one project and then it gets moved. I don't know what the fuck that is, but it seems to be endemic in my life. It's like, finish one, Unkut Recordings finishes a project and Trem moves house, you know, like, and studio. So yeah, it sort of steadily built, and it burnt in me again, and I became hungry, and then I basically smashed it out as far as the rapping side of it pretty quick, and then spent a long time in the mix. And when I say the mix, I mean all the stems. So you know, one of the things that I hate is when an MC or an artist has a heap of producers on board, and the 5 or 6 or 10 producers all have varying styles. I mean, there still might be a ballpark that they're all meeting on, but it's all over the shop. So I reached out to a few producers on this, and although everyone kind of made that boom bap shit, they still came in varying degrees at me. So then to really go back in on each one and put them all in the same ballpark, and, you know, on the same cricket pitch ultimately at the end of the day. So so the album kind of came about that way, and yeah, we did Amiga Man first as a single and as a clip, roughly 12 months before, not quite 12 months before the album. So that wasn't meant to be the case. The the album was meant to come out kind of 3 months later, you know, and due to me being a fucking pain in the ass to myself, perfectionist, finicky fuckhead, it just kind of dragged on and on and on, and then, you know, bringing in, you know, designers and whatever else we had to bring in, and then from the whole packaging thing, we kind of basically said, well, we've got to do another clip. And, you know, there was a few options, and I worked, you know, I got two of my best mates, lucky enough to have two of the best people I know behind me on the visuals, in Joshy and Heater. So we sort of got together and spoke about, okay, what do you know, I've got my opinions on what I think we should do. What's yours, you know? And we'd done Omega Man, which was kind of, you know, it had a topic, but it was just a rap track at the end of the day. But we were able to sort of put me in this place by myself, underground, away from the rest of the world, just with my hip hop records, you know. And then, so instead of doing Maybe for the Term of His Natural Life, which was, you know, my favourite track off the album, but probably an extension of Omega Man, we thought, well, let's come with one of the more topic-based tracks. And hence, Omega Man was one that both Heater and Josh were like, yeah, man. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So we started building some storyboards, coming up with concepts and a way to do it. And yeah, just kind of build it on from there, which became the clip, the track itself. Yeah, definitely probably a love of that local crime to a degree, but you know, without going too much into it, I came up, my life's been very sort of mixed. So my mum and dad split when I was very young, and my mum is, you know, very sweet-natured, you know, beautiful person that obviously raised me. But my dad on the other side, you know, it's more of a crime family where he's come from and what the life that he pursued. So I kind of lived here, but saw this on the weekends. Lived here, saw this on the weekends, and just came up like that. So you know, I guess that kind of had a bit of a vibe on me that, you know, I was kind of attracted to it. A lot of my mates were into varying forms of crime. And yeah, there's something really interesting about, you know, Chopper Reed or Nettie Smith or, you know, and I also think, you know, Dennis Allen, The Matriarch, that's a great book, that one. As fucked up as these books are written, there's always these almost elements of humour in the crimes that are being committed. And I don't know if it's because I got to see bits of that sort of shit happening, but also could have a laugh at the end of the day. It's kind of resonated with me, sort of thing. I don't know, but yeah, definitely I was happy to put something like that on my album and speak about, you know, that shit ultimately at the end of the day. And I mean, Animal Kingdom is kind of a Melbourne track, but, you know, we all know Adelaide's got its version and Sydney's got its version and whatever, you know, so.
Did you have any street cats reach out to you once that dropped and give you props or compliments on that particular joint?
Yeah, well, I know some street cats, and the best, my favourite thing about that whole track and clip is the day that we dropped the album, we had a little launch in Fitzroy at the Laundry, and it was just it was like we played the album, you know, just kept playing it, and we also ran Animal Kingdom clip live for the first time before it went live online. So the guys there saw it, and then it got run live basically, and there was some proper street heads in there. And on the big screen, yeah, I mean, you know, we've all had some great feelings in as MCs or artists on stage or whatever, but one of the biggest chills up my spine I got was, you know, at the very end of the track, was at the screening of the track, was like the roar and the cheer and, you know, the clapping that ensued. I think because it was intimate and there was, you know, maybe 150 heads in there watching it close quarters, listening to the album, it was just an amazing feeling. And some of those street heads were there as well that kind of, you know, they were vibing on it too. So, you know, that was cool, you know. I don't think I breached any codes, you know, no code of the streets got breached in the track. So I think that they were all happy with that, you know.
And then the thing that I noticed is that, you know, you've dropped the singles, you've dropped the album. So as fans, we're waiting for the Trem tour. But it didn't quite eventuate. I think you did stand up in Adelaide. And did you do another show anywhere else, or was that the only show off the back of that album?
So once the album dropped, I've always been a fan in, or a believer in, letting it marinate for a bit, and then go out and do it. Now I don't think that I need to go out and promo shit as soon as it drops, as far as trying to do shows and garner new fans and shit like that. I feel like we're, you know, like we were talking about, being in our lane and knowing what I've got. So, you know, just letting everyone that did get it or still hadn't got it and, you know, waiting to get it or whatever, giving them the time to let it sink in, first and foremost. Secondly, the album is not a live album, you know, and to be fair, you know, I think more people need to have their own personal understanding on the music they make and then how it gets delivered and what they should do with it. A lot of acts are live acts, and that's amazing. And you might even listen to someone's album and go, oh, it's not really me, but I'll go check them live because they're dope. And then some guys, you know, are the opposite. You know, their album's phenomenal, but live, no good, you know. I think like dudes like Rock Marcy don't do live shows, or very, very minimal. His albums are phenomenal, but he understands his style. He's not suited to what a couple hundred punters in a club want to see, really. I think acts that have a nostalgic value that were like that, it's a different scenario. But I think if you're putting out new music, and particularly the way the live circuit is now, people in the crowd expect a certain thing, and if you're just going to stand there and rap, you know, only your diehard fans will be the ones going, that's the shit. Everyone else will probably be like, oh yeah, it was okay. You know what I mean? So I don't make no bones in having an understanding of what the music that I make is and where it sits in the live landscape. So I don't make music to do live, so that's not a primary concern. We've got to make sure that the scenario is right when it does come time to do it live. So having said that, when we did LC shit, that was live music, you know, and we got live, and it was a live show, and so, you know, horses for courses type shit. But anyway, eventually 6 months on, 8 months on, I started planning a proper Australian tour, and for whatever reason, it just kind of got morphed out of the frame. But a year went on, and another year went on, I think, and then I got reached out to by the guys at Stand Up, and they sort of said, oh, we're putting on this event. We did one last year. We'd love you to co-headline it with Strut, blah, blah, blah. It was in Brisbane. And I said, yeah, well, let's sort of speak about it, and we built on it, and it was something I thought would be cool, a cool opportunity to take for the term live, you know. And so I did it in Brizzy, which was interesting. And then they said, well, we're actually going to do one in Melbourne, and we'd love you to do that. And I was like, all right, let's do it. So I co-headlined that one, I think, with Lazy, and then we did the Adelaide one, and the same applied. So we did 3 shows in the end, and yeah, they were great fun. I love the fact that we got to do the Brizzy one, get a gauge on it. I think they refined stand-up after that as well. There was a lot of acts. It was drawn out. We didn't go on till fucking after 1 o'clock, and when you put it on 50 acts, you know, so that was kind of a lesson learnt. By the time we got to Melbourne, it was a lot more refined, and then again by the time we went to Adelaide. So that was good fun, and I had a lot of fun with it. But again, I think, you know, to do the live thing, you've got to really want to do it. And again, when you flip into MC mode, or when I flip into MC mode, because there's so many different elements that I attack, You got to be hungry to do that. And, you know, just like you got to be hungry, like I said, to spit on the radio or jump in the booth, you got to be almost 10 times ready to do that live. So, yeah, look, man, it's kind of, they're the basic reasons why it took a while to get anything live happening, and it probably wasn't a super comprehensive live tour in the end, but, you know, I probably still owe Sydney and Perth shows, to be fair. So.
And was that the last time that you performed live?
Adelaide, the Adelaide stand-up.
Yeah, is that the last live show that you've done?
On the mic, yes, yeah. I've done some, for want of a better term, DJ sets, which, you know, I love to do. I love that. You know, I'm probably more hungry to do that than I am the MC sets, because, you know, I'm a fan first, as we've said, and it's a case of the beauty of getting to spin is ultimately you're just getting to play the shit that you love and push it to the people, you know. I get to become the fucking Richard Kingsmill of the venue that I'm at for the night, but you know, I'm not playing whack shit to the punters, I'm playing dope shit. So, you know, how couldn't you love that opportunity? So I love to spin live, and I've been painting again a bit more and more, so they're probably the two loves that I have at the moment as far as in the culture and the elements again, more so than rapping. I mean, I'm still writing, but yeah, getting back to almost full circle. You know, listening to the music and graph was the first two elements I got into. I almost feel like I've come back there again. So, yeah. But I mean, you know, at the same time, you know, I think that hunger to rap again comes on from inspiration as well. And I love hearing a few new things that have come out lately that kind of just give you that little, oh yeah, you know. And that's, I think as an MC, you really do need that. But, you know, like I said, to be an MC, that hunger and that ego needs to be there too. And I feel like as I've gotten older, you know, when we were running around as LC, a lot of that's gone from me, you know what I mean? So I still write vicious shit, but to write it and to rap it, you've got to be in that state of mind and in that frame. I think, you know, just, you know, there's a reason why most MCs probably stop rapping at a certain age, and you've just got like Melly Mel, who's like 65, still going, bench pressing fucking 500 pounds and still claiming belts across the globe. You know what I mean? But yeah, so yeah, that's kind of probably that. You know, having that hunger to rap and to rap live is things that, you know, I sort of probably have to draw from some inspiration or.
So do you think that we will ever get a Trem's solo rapping set again in the future?
Well, again, like the LC thing, you never say never. I think you'd be more likely to get a Trem product again before you get to see him on the mic on stage. Yeah, I would say that, but I'm not going to say no, because who knows what that product, if that product eventuates, and what it turns into, whether it becomes something that needs a tour, whether I'll be hungry again to tour it. You know, I think MCing is definitely a younger man's game, and I give props to dudes like the Hoods, who I'm assuming they're around my age, that they can still tear it up live. I mean, their live shit is their shit to me, you know what I mean? And yeah, again, that's an entity unto its own, and it's a different style and scenario. But as an MC, I also give respect and love dudes like Carr and Marciano that are like, well, our shit's to put the record on and listen to and get into that way, you know what I mean? Because I feel like that's probably more the shit I do now, you know? Whereas when we were doing LC shit, we were stage diving, we were fucking sculling beers on stage and making assholes out of ourselves and, you know, causing all kinds of fucking riots and train stations to get shut down and pool halls to get shut up and fucking, you know, all that shit. So. And
that's why we would all go to see it.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true.
The lesson.